let's turn our attention to, well, the latest woke madness. I mean, I could do an item like this every single day. I really could. People who have lost their jobs, lost a title, lost work, been ousted from an organisation simply because, well, they've just said, well, what things that people really think are reasonable, or they've done their job. The latest is Dr. David Harris. He was Professor Emeritus at Plymouth Marjon University until last September, when he was stripped of his academic title. Why? Well, because he'd done some work, he'd done some research, which was his job to do as an academic, looking at critical race theory. That theory which basically says, if you're white, you're a racist, end of, pretty much. And we're all basically in a hierarchy of goodness to badness, and bad definitely among the white people there. But he was stripped of his title, basically because they were of the view that his research had been controversial. But isn't that what academics are supposed to do? Well, let's talk to Dr. David Harris right now, who joins us, former Professor Emeritus at Plymouth Marjon University. Thank you so much for joining us, David.
Well, thanks for your interest.
I just find these stories extraordinary. What was the actual academic work that you did which caused such a storm, it turns out?
Well, I still don't really know.
Yeah.
They've been very vague and silent about the offence that I've actually committed. But I've written a book recently, last year, about critical race theory, and just before that, one about feminism. So it could have been either.
Well, how very dare you? I mean, but
Well,
this is, and your subject, I mean, you're an emeritus professor of what?
well, I'm really a sociologist.
So this is right up your strata. This is
Well,
literally what you're paid to do.
yes, I'm not paid by the university anymore.
No.
Emeritus professors aren't paid, but they get privileges, including an email address and access to library resources.
So quite vital for your work. And
Well,
what do you suspect they were so unhappy about, particularly with your critique of critical race theory? Because lots of people don't, realise critical race theory is kind of at the absolute, heart of, the Black Lives Matter, this whole idea that there is this hierarchy of people who have power and don't have power, and basically black and brown people, trans people, gay people are at the bottom. White people, white men like you and my colleague in the studio, Benedict, at the top, and everything can be explained by these power dynamics. That's the theory, isn't it?
that is so. There's also an academic core because some of the academics involved in the movement also do research. They do research on racism and its dimensions. They look at schools and the extent to which they favour white kids
Mm-hmm.
and penalise various ethnic minorities,
Yeah.
mostly black kids. So that's the sort of work I've focused on. There's been a particularly controversial government report recently, and it's been ignored. So I decided to explore that and the research that was involved in it. So I've mostly focused on that rather than the politics as such.
And basically your views were, your conclusions appeared to be unacceptable. You didn't sort of toe the line of, white people bad, black people good and victims, or whatever nonsense is lately being espoused.
No, certainly not. I'm a rather dull academic, I'm afraid. So I said, well, as you would expect, there's good and bad on both sides
Yes.
in terms of the research, and drawing political conclusions is another matter.
Yeah.
It's not
That's
easy
not
to
part of your
do that.
remit. But
Well,
also again,
yes.
there can be aspects again where racism plays a role in what happens in universities, schooling, but also
Yeah,
socioeconomic matters, parenting matters, family breakdown, historical.
absolutely.
There are so many different aspects. But to even mention that means somehow you're basically you're challenging this sort of thing. Tell us
Yeah.
what it's been like in universities over the years, because we've seen this over the trans issue. Just, you simply, we've had professors hounded out of their jobs, death threats and the like, rape threats, I mean, horrific stuff, over simply saying, I don't believe that men can become women or women can become men. I mean, and critical race theories, it's kind of been wound up with that as these new beliefs that those are the beliefs, and if you don't toe the line on them, you're out.
Well, it's been very difficult. I mean, there is a strong argument in some critical race theorists that white people must be racist.
Yeah.
That their
Unconscious
whole
bias.
Yes, indeed, and even worse, a kind of philosophical orientation that must be white and empirical and affect the views, including the philosophical views of white people. And this is bound up with the argument about colonization
Yeah.
of universities and university academics and academic curricula.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to refute it. And it has led to, as you say, activity against spokesperson who dare to speak up.
Yeah, well, in my day, it is a long time ago that I was at university. If we disagreed with people, I remember having a debate for about 3 months by essay with a tutor about some philosophical debate about morality. I don't know why students waste their time doing these things, but I did, and he did. But we had a debate. I didn't try and get him banned because I disagreed with him, and he didn't try and get me
No.
banned because he disagreed with me. We had a debate about it, and in the end we agreed to disagree, but we both put our arguments, and we both really enjoyed, I think, having that debate. And but now, for some reason, people need to be ousted if they say or think the wrong thing. Why? What damage has that done to academia, to freedom of thought, and to rigorous academic debate?
I think it's totally altered academic life. I mean, I haven't taught for some years, but I understand that academics these days are treading on eggshells,
Yeah.
with controversial matters and are afraid to speak.
Yeah.
And what worries me is that administrators are also encouraging students in their ways, in a way.
Yeah.
This is a very convenient way to get rid of inconvenient staff.
Yeah.
By using student complaints about them, or for that matter, junior colleagues are also offended by
Yeah. Everyone's
unpopular
offended.
opinions. Yeah,
Tell you what, they're going to hate you even more. You've been on my show.
Well, I was surprised by the amount of hostility in my case.
Yeah.
I got some access to some emails as a result of a subject access request, and the hostility and unprofessional sort of comments about me was astounding.
It is
And
extraordinary, isn't it? Well, you've had the backing of the Campaign for Academic Freedom.
I have.
Thank goodness, and we have got bodies like that, and I strongly support them. I mean, again, you don't have to agree with somebody to basically say they have their right to have their say. And if academics aren't allowed to give their views, I'm not sure that academia is going to survive much longer. Really appreciate you standing up for what what you believe in and speaking publicly about it. The more we know about these cases, the more we can try and tackle it. Former Professor Emeritus at Plymouth Marjon University, Dr. Julia Harris, thank you for joining us.
Very much.
Thank you. Benedict Spencer, these stories, these aren't people going out to cause trouble. It's not someone going, yeah, I'm going to stick it up them. It's just like people doing their job, whether it's, students or professors, just doing their job of asking questions and investigating, doing research, writing a book. And they are facing, we've spoken to many, Connie Shaw at Free Speech Union, who basically got thrown out of, basically they tried to throw her out of university for voicing reasonable opinions. Men can't become women. And him about critical race theory.
It's almost darkly amusing, because I remember when I went to school and the lessons of history we were always taught, because it was drilled into us, the Nazis, the USSR to a degree, then back to the Nazis, then a little bit more USSR.
Didn't we do a bit of Elizabethan?
And you were told, oh no, there wasn't enough censorship then. No, but we were told constantly one of the great evils was the censorship, was the suppression. The Nazis burned the books, they kicked out the academics, all the Jewish academics, and then all the others, and the USSR did the same, and that Orwell had warned against all of this thing. And you're kind of thinking, this stuff was beaten into us almost, not literally, because you're not allowed to beat children anymore, but up to that point, this was what we were told. How is it then that people, because these are the same people who went through the same system, are able to have that mental disconnect when they go, oh, that was very bad, we mustn't repeat that, now I'm going to repeat it.
Now I'm going to burn your book.
Yes.
I genuinely, and again, it's people being offended. If you are offended at university by someone having an opinion that differs from yours, you don't deserve at university. You're too thick to be there. It's really that simple, and you need to be told by the university authorities on that day, you can either lose your offence, you can either get over it, or you can pack your stuff and go home, because you are not up to this, because if you haven't got that academic rigour, you don't have any business being at uni. Again, keep saying this, but we should start. Can that be the new strapline? Not the home of common sense. I'm old-fashioned. I'm old-fashioned. Even old-fashioned values, like people being allowed to give their views, and then you argue with them. Thank you very much, Benedict Spencer.